Imagine a world where you own nothing, not even the tools of your trade or the roof over your head, while working harder than ever before. We were told Adam Smith was the father of modern capitalism, but his final writings contained a sharp warning about the dark era we are entering right now. The era of Neo-Feudalism. The popular image of Adam Smith as a cold-hearted defender of unfettered greed is one of the greatest distortions in intellectual history. Most people today know him only through a few cherry-picked quotes about the invisible hand, but they completely ignore the moral framework that supported his entire philosophy. Smith was not writing for the billionaire class or the global monopolies of the 21st century. He was writing for the common man and the small producer. He saw the economy as a tool for human flourishing, not a mechanism for total extraction. When we look closely at his final warnings, we see a man deeply concerned that the masters the masters of mankind would eventually destroy the very markets they claim to lead. To understand where we are going, we must first understand what Smith actually hated. He spent a significant portion of his life analyzing the decay of the feudal system, where a tiny elite owned all the land and the rest of the population lived as vassals. He believed that the transition to a market economy would liberate people from this dependency. However, he warned that if we were not careful, the same power structures would simply reinvent themselves under new names. Today, we see this happening as the line between a free marketplace and a private fiefdom begins to disappear. We are no longer just participants in an economy. We are becoming subjects in a digital empire. The core of Smith's warning lies in the distinction between earned profit and unearned rent. For Smith, a healthy economy is driven by people who take risks, innovate, and provide value to their communities. In contrast, the rentier class makes money simply because they own something that others need to survive. Whether it is land, essential infrastructure, or modern digital platforms, the goal of the rentier is to sit back and collect tribute. Smith famously noted that landlords love to reap where they never sowed, and he saw this as a fundamental threat to national prosperity. If the rentiers take too much, there is nothing left for the people who actually do the work. In our modern world, the rentier has returned with a vengeance, but this time they are armed with algorithms and complex financial instruments. We see this in the way major corporations now seek to turn every product into a recurring subscription. You no longer buy software, you rent it. You no longer own your movies or music, you pay for access. This shift is not about convenience. It is about ensuring that wealth flows upward indefinitely without the need for constant innovation. It is a structural return to the feudal model where the peasantry paid for the right to use the Lord S. mill or the Lord S. land, trapped in a cycle of perpetual payment. This transition is creating a new class of digital serfs who provide the labor and data that fuel the massive wealth of a few tech giants. When you use a platform to sell your goods or offer your services, you are often operating in a space where the rules can change at any moment without your consent. These platforms act as the new lords of the digital manor, taking a massive cut of every transaction while providing none of the security that once came with employment. Smith would have recognized this immediately as a form of mercantile weight that crushes the spirit of the independent merchant and prevents the true wealth of a nation from growing. We must ask ourselves if we are witnessing the end of the American dream, or just its cold transformation into something unrecognizable. Smith argued that the wealth of a nation depends on the widespread distribution of property, not its concentration in the hands of a few great proprietors. When the majority of the population is unable to accumulate capital, the entire engine of progress grinds to a halt. This is the essential danger of the coming era. We are trading our long-term liberty for the short-term illusion of digital convenience, forgetting that those who own the infrastructure also own the people who are forced to use it every single day. The historical parallels are chilling when you consider how the original feudal lords maintained their power through the control of essential resources. Today, those resources are not just fields of wheat, but the very code and data that govern our financial lives. Smith warned that when the masters control the legislature, they will always seek to create monopolies that benefit themselves at the expense of the poor. We see this in the labyrinth of patent laws and licensing agreements that prevent small competitors from ever gaining a foothold. It is a system designed to prevent competition, which is the exact opposite of what a truly free market is supposed to do. As we look at these changing structures, it is clear that we are losing the autonomy that Smith believed was essential for a free society. If you feel like you are running faster just to stay in the same place, it is because the system is being redesigned to extract every bit of surplus you produce. I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. What is one thing you feel like you no longer truly own anymore? Also, we are incredibly close to reaching 100,000 subscribers on this channel, and I truly count on your help to reach that milestone this year. Please hit that subscribe button to join our community and stay informed on these critical topics. The most visible sign of this neo-feudal shift is the current state of the housing market, which is becoming a playground for institutional investors. In the 18th century, Smith warned that when the price of land becomes too high, it acts as a tax on the productive members of society. Today, we see massive hedge funds and investment firms buying up thousands of single-family homes, turning potential owners into permanent renters. This is not a natural market trend. It is a deliberate strategy to monopolize a basic human necessity. When a generation is locked out of ownership, they lose their stake in the future of their own country. This loss of ownership has profound psychological and social consequences that Smith discussed in his work on moral sentiments. He believed that a stable society requires individuals to feel a sense of agency and responsibility for their own lives. When people are reduced to mere tenants in every aspect of their existence, they become atomized and discouraged. The middle class, which was once the backbone of the global economy, is being squeezed between rising rents and stagnant wages. We are witnessing the slow death of the independent proprietor and the rise of a new, precarious class that owns nothing and has no real safety net for the future. The irony is that many of the people driving this change use Smith's name to justify their actions while doing the exact opposite. They speak of free markets while building massive moats to prevent any real competition from ever emerging. Debt has become the modern version of the invisible chains that held the medieval serf to the land for generations. Instead of being tied to a physical location, many people today are tied to their creditors through student loans, credit cards, and predatory mortgages. This debt acts as a permanent drain on a person's future labor, ensuring that they can never truly be free to make their own choices. Smith saw excessive debt as a sign of a decaying society, one that prefers to consume its future rather than invest in its people. When the majority of a population is in debt, the wealth of the nation is being hollowed out. The rise of the gig economy is another pillar of this new feudalism, where workers take on all the risks of business with none of the rewards of ownership. Smith believed that the laborer should be able to enjoy a liberal reward for their work, enough to support a family and achieve independence. Instead, we see a return to piecework, where every minute of a person's life is monetized by a distant algorithm. This is the ultimate form of rent-seeking, where the platform owner takes a cut of every physical movement a worker makes. It is a level of micromanagement that would have horrified the philosophers of the Enlightenment who dreamed of human liberty. We must also consider the role of intellectual property in this new landscape. which Smith warned could easily become a tool for monopolists. When companies can patent basic biological processes or essential software functions, they are essentially claiming ownership over the building blocks of the future. This leads to the creation of luxury towers and high-end services, while basic infrastructure and affordable housing are left to crumble. It is a distortion of the price signal that Smith believed was so vital for a healthy society. We are no longer building a nation. We are building a private estate for a new aristocracy. If you are finding this analysis of our current economic reality helpful, please hit the like button right now. It is the best way to help the algorithm share these ideas with more people who are trying to make sense of the world. The more people understand the true nature of neo-feudalism, the better chance we have of demanding a system that actually serves the many instead of the few. We are dedicated to bringing you these deep dives into the ideas that shape our lives, and your engagement is what makes this work possible. When the owner of your local store lived in your town, they had a stake in your well-being. Today, the owners are faceless shareholders thousands of miles away who only care about the quarterly bottom line. This distance creates a moral vacuum where exploitation becomes not just possible, but mathematically mandatory. The human element of the economy has been stripped away, leaving only a cold calculation of extraction. This lack of local accountability is why we see ghost towns in areas that were once thriving hubs of industry and trade. The capital that was generated in those communities has been sucked out by global platforms and concentrated in a few financial centers. Smith warned that such an imbalance would lead to the stationary state, where a nation stops growing and begins to rot from within. We see the signs of this rot in the crumbling bridges, the failing schools, and the rising deaths of despair in abandoned regions. The new lords have no interest in maintaining the land. They only want to extract the last bits of value before moving on. The educational system has also been transformed into a tool for this new feudalism, saddling young people with debt before they even enter the workforce. Instead of being a path to independence, education has become a gatekeeper, controlled by the same financial interests that profit from the loans. Smith believed that education should be accessible and practical, aimed at making people better citizens and more capable producers. Now, it is a credentialing system that ensures the next generation starts their lives as vassals to the banking system. It is a preventative measure that stops young people from taking the risks necessary to innovate and compete. Even our leisure time is now a source of rent for the digital elite who control the screens we stare at all day. Every second you spend on a social media platform is a second where your attention is being sold to advertisers and your data is being used to refine the algorithms of control. This is the enclosure of the mind, where our very thoughts and desires are turned into commodities for someone else's profit. Smith warned about the mental mutilation that could occur in a highly specialized and repetitive economy, and we are seeing a digital version of that today. Our focus is the newest territory being colonized by the rentier class. You are often forced to give up your right to a trial just to use a basic piece of technology or to get a job. This creates a shadow legal system where the corporation is both the judge and the jury. Smith believed that the impartial administration of justice was the first duty of the state, but that duty is being outsourced to private entities. When you cannot hold the powerful accountable in a public court, you are no longer a citizen with rights. You are a subject with permissions. This shift toward private law is a hallmark of feudalism, where the lord of the manor held absolute authority over his vassals. It creates a world where the rules are different for those who own the platforms than for those who use them. We see this in the deplatforming of individuals and businesses without due process or any clear explanation. The digital lords can destroy a person's livelihood with the push of a button, and there is often no way to appeal the decision. This unchecked power is exactly what the Enlightenment thinkers fought to abolish. Yet we have allowed it to return under the guise of technological progress. The environmental cost of this system is also staggering, as the drive for infinite extraction ignores the physical limits of the planet. Smith understood that the earth was the ultimate source of all wealth, and that it must be managed with care for future generations. However, the rentier class is only interested in the present value of resources, leading to the rapid depletion of forests, minerals, and clean water. This is the tragedy of the commons on a global scale, where the new lords profit from the destruction of the shared environment. We are leaving a desert for our children while calling it economic efficiency and growth. Finally, we must recognize that the invisible hand cannot fix a system that has been rigged to prevent it from working. Smith E.'s famous metaphor relied on the existence of thousands of small competitors who could not individually influence the market. When you have 3 or 4 massive corporations controlling an entire sector, the invisible hand is replaced by a heavy boot. To claim that the current system is a free market is a direct insult to the man who defined the term. We are living in a mercantile dystopia that Smith predicted would occur if we ever allowed the merchants and manufacturers to become our political masters and dictators. As we reach the conclusion of this analysis, it is vital to remember that we are not helpless in the face of these massive shifts. The first step is to recognize the true nature of the system and to stop using the language of the past to describe the reality of the present. We are almost at our goal of 100,000 subscribers, and your help is what allows us to keep bringing these hidden truths to light. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and share this video with others who are feeling the squeeze of neo-feudalism. Your engagement is the only way we can build a community strong enough to demand a return to true economic liberty and property ownership. Adam Smith knew that the true wealth of a nation depends on the freedom of its people to own their labor and the fruits of their creativity without being crushed by the rentier class. If we continue to allow a tiny elite to monopolize our homes, our data, and our tools through high-tech fiefdoms, we are surrendering the very foundations of a free society and a prosperous future. The warning signs are everywhere, from the rise of institutional landlords to the hidden ways banks are currently handling your hard-earned money behind closed doors. Understanding these risks is the only way to safeguard your financial future and your personal liberty in this coming dark age. In fact, what is happening behind the scenes at your local branch might be the most urgent threat you face right now. To see exactly what I mean, you must watch our latest video titled, "If Your Bank is Doing This with Your Money, You Are in Danger." Adam Smith. Click now, stay informed, and I will see you there.